Nivi Mukherjee, education technology specialist. Welcome to the JSO interview.
Thank you, John.
I think the truth can be revealed that you and I have met before in the roles of teacher and student. So it's a particular honor for me to interview you in this guise. Since then, you have founded eLimu, one of the most successful startups in the education technology field. And this has given you exposure leading to interviews apart from KISS TV tonight on the BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN. You've been featured in The Economist. You've given talks at MIT. You've given talks at a conference called South by Southwest. And you've given a talk on TEDx, a sort of offshoot of TED Talks. And my research has revealed that your talk was entitled, "Africa is Pioneering an Education Technology Revolution." Mm-hmm. Why so?
Well, I think it started with Kenya and specifically leapfrogging other technologies in the world and making a big splash in the mobile banking sector. And the world looked to us and said, wow, you guys are doing something right and maybe we should replicate your model.
So you're talking about Mpesa at this point?
Mpesa.
And others.
And others.
Well, I'm putting those words into your mouth. Perhaps you don't want to say that, but do continue.
Yeah, Mpesa made a huge splash and people really started paying attention. And they really started paying attention to what we're calling the Silicon Savannah that we have in Nairobi. Very innovative, very needs-based innovators who are creating solutions for the problems that they're facing. And we've seen the same in education. Throughout the pain points that our students are facing every day, we've said, you know what, business as usual isn't working. The learning outcomes in our schools aren't quite up to standard of what our job market requires, of what Vision 2030 needs our students and participants of the economies to be at. So we've started disrupting that and we've started creating innovative interventions to pioneer a way forward.
Right. You went as far as Vision 2030. I'm going to take you back to March the 4th, the general elections, and the Jubilee government saying this great slogan, laptops for every child soon. Do you, from where you're coming from, think this is a good idea? Because I know that somewhere in your vocabulary is also the word tablet. Mm-hmm. What is the distinction? And let's start by your response to that.
Well, first of all, I think any disruption to education is a good thing. Any disruption to the status quo that isn't working, that isn't meeting the results, is a good thing. So we can't say, let's not try anything new, let's keep going the way things are. Let's try something new. Let's put devices, let's put new teachers, let's put new methodologies into our classrooms, into our schools. That's necessary. We can't keep going the way that we've been going. So when the government made this promise of laptops for every child, that's a step in the right direction. We're saying, let's do something that will disrupt the status quo.
And I described you as a specialist. Mm-hmm. Aren't there things to look out for in all this? You're just saying, yes. You know, laptop for every child, and we're laughing all the way to the bank. I don't think so.
No, of course there are. I guess there's 4 components that we really need to think carefully about. One is the technology side of it. Which laptops are we using? What are their capabilities? Are we going to use PCs, laptops? Are we going to use tablets? So this is what a tablet is. It's something like a big smartphone. And it has all the capabilities of a laptop. In my opinion, it's much better. It's more portable, it's more durable, it's more ruggedized, and it's more easily charged through solar electricity. So one side is the technology. What kind of technology are we delivering? And then the second component is the content. Once we've given these kids the tablets or the laptops, then what? What is the content? What are they learning? What are they doing with these? Are they better going to understand how a heart beats using this technology? And the third component is, I guess, the support, the implementation and the training. How are we going to deliver this to the schools? How are we going to get the teachers to adopt this technology, get the students to use it, to benefit from it, and really train the teachers?
How are we going to get the teachers themselves to know how to use it? Because you're presuming a sort of generation of tech-savvy teachers throughout the Kenyan land, which is not the case.
I guess what the government is doing now is assuming that the digital literacy of teachers is zero. So they are starting from zero. They're starting and, introducing computing and digital literacy as a very basic requirement for this, as a first step for this adoption. So digital literacy is, of course, important. But then secondly, the day that I took these tablets into our schools, and the first time we made a huge mistake. We trained the teachers and the students all in the same room. And we visited a week later, and the students had sprinted past the teachers in terms of how quickly they had learned and started using these devices. And not surprisingly, the teachers stopped using them. They pulled them out of classes and they didn't want to look stupid.
Because of the embarrassment factor?
Because of the embarrassment factor.
What about the cost factor? Are these things all sort of like, I can walk off and buy one now for 100 bob?
These things, a tablet varies. You get $100 no-name brand from China. You can get a brand name, a Samsung, or, a Samsung tablet up to $500.
So in the great government's plan, is it too foolish a question to ask, where is the money going to come from to educate all the children who are in line to get one in a population where we're told half the population is under the age of 16? So half the population ought to have a tablet such as yours, or a laptop.
Well, I guess one of the approaches the government has taken, which I find interesting and research hasn't really proved to be necessary, is a one device per child option. So every student doesn't need a laptop. In our projects, devices are shared one between 3 to 5 students, and that works well. And it really sets a good groundwork for collaborative learning.
Was that man, or was I think it was the presidential candidate, Professor Olekiapi, who said Big Brother's going to steal? Was that a flippant remark? The rollout scenario, who's going to get one first?
I believe the government plans to start with Standard 1 students.
Right, so Big Brother, Big Sister will come and steal and say, give that to me because I'm bigger than you.
So this is one of the parts of the implementation and the support around that implementation that needs to be addressed. Like, are these laptops going to stay in the school? Are they going to be in a secure room? Are they going to be taken home with the kids? There's a lot of room for error between walking from school to your house.
Right, they could be sort of waylaid and all sorts of... Right. I'm going to take you back one and say, is this a priority? Again, excuse the question if you find that it's rude or dismissive, but I'm saying with all the preoccupations that we have at the moment, people who don't have food, people who don't have chairs to sit on, is having a laptop or a tablet a necessity of our times? Why such a big deal over this tablet-laptop issue?
Well, I guess, up in Northeastern, 42% of our students aren't sitting on furniture. They're sitting on the floor while they're learning. And so to say, I think there's scary statistics about how many students have access to toilets, to basic sanitation, and yeah, these are things that need to be addressed. They definitely need to be addressed.
In tandem with, so you're not saying it's an either or.
Exactly.
It should be.
The question is, should we wait? Should I wait until every school is equipped with the basic needs before we address what the learners need to do? Before we address the learners sitting there and saying something like, wow, or that's interesting, or I really get that, or I want to know more about it.
Right.
We need to tap into that.